We are awakening together. This is our weekly gathering we hold online. For more information, visit our website, awakening-together.org. We'd love to see you there.
Thank you, Marisol. Welcome, everyone, to this beautiful day in February. We're getting close to the end. It's February the 23rd, 2025. And it's always now. So as Marisol plays our theme song for Awakening Together, we are awakening. I'd invite you to share in the chat there, and let everybody know where you're from and a little bit about what's going on for you. Thanks so much. As we begin, let me share our purpose and a core value. So I've got it right here. We are an assembly of equals, joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols. And we seek to discern one truth and to rest in its embrace. And the core value that I've chosen today out of our 5 core values is core value number 1. We trust everyone is led by unique inner guidance to one experience called awakening, which is realization of one true self. We live this value by supporting one another on different paths of awakening. Into the meat of our meeting today on our homily, we've got some announcements. So I'm going to invite Melody to make the first announcement. All right, Marisol is going to play our first song. Thank you, Marisol. That's just the way it is. And aren't we glad it's just an illusion? The way that most of us perceive things is not what's really happening. So join me as we go into prayer. Thank you so much, Father, Mother, God, Creator, the all that is. Today we're going to explore the empty shell. And so I ask each one of us to just, in this moment, allow all the thoughts to pass on by and just focus on now. Help me to set George aside and allow you to flow through George. So thank you so much that we are your creation. In a sense, we are our own creation. Life is good. Thank you for your blessings. Amen. All right. For our reading today is from 1 Corinthians, NTI 1 Corinthians. The entire book of 1 Corinthians is about the empty shell. And of course, if you read the entire book, it's about an hour. You can read through it in about an hour without really contemplating. We don't have an hour, so we're going to focus on chapters 9 and 10. And our reader today is Susan Bacon. So Susan, go right ahead.
Thank you, George. I'm delighted to be here to join you and get to read this morning. NTI 1 Corinthians chapter 9. There's a voice within you that claims to be you. This voice does not try to deceive you because this voice does believe it is you. Therefore, all that it whispers into your mind, it whispers in belief that it is truth. But the reason that this voice is not truth is because this voice cannot see you. It cannot know you because this voice cannot see you. Therefore, the voice is mistaken. All that it tells you, believing it is true, is based on mistake. And so it is mistaken also. The voice that thinks it is you has convinced you that it is you also. And so you listen to this voice as if it is you. You're loyal to its thoughts. If this voice tells you that you must defend yourself in this way or that, you defend yourself as it says, for you believe that following the voice is your own defense of yourself. But since the voice is not you, it is not you that you defend in following it. Since this voice is the voice of a mistake about who you are, in listening to the voice, you defend a mistake, but believe it's true. To listen to this voice and do as it says is to defend that you are what you are not. To listen to this voice and do as it says is to choose to remain blinded to your truth. Listen to me, capital M. You are not what you think you are. You are not the image that you defend as yourself. This is why I ask you to become a willing, empty shell. A willing, empty shell has chosen to put aside to the voice that has filled it. A willing, empty shell has chosen to let go of beliefs it has taken as it has listened to this mistaken voice. A willing, empty shell has decided to clear itself of all mistakes and every grain that has been based on a mistake, that it may be open and clear to receive the fullness of its truth. Clear the thoughts that are in your mind by being willing to let go of all of them. Do not fear that some thoughts are true and upon your own judgment must be held on to. For the one who judges is the mistaken voice. Therefore, let go of everything that you may be free of it all. Maintain only the casing, which is trust. When you have emptied, holding on to nothing but your trust, you shall be filled again, and nothing that is true shall be lost. Give it your all. Give all of your thought and all of your action to the purpose of emptying your shell fully. This is how you will know your reward which is the truth of who you are. Your truth is more beautiful and more precious to you than you imagine now. Let go of all fear that says it is not. Give everything to emptying your shell. In this way, you give everything to you. Amen. NTI 1 Corinthians chapter 10. There is no right and there is no wrong. There is no right thing to do and there is no mistake. Do not judge yourself on this criteria. Become as an empty shell, remembering that you do not know. If you will let go of judgment and give everything to me, I will judge it for you. I will not judge it as good, bad, or right, or wrong. I will only judge it as true or untrue. And then you may choose if you want that which is true or if you desire the untrue a little longer. Remember that an empty shell holds only to its casing, and that is trust. Remember what your true desire is, for you do know. Listen to your own heart and choose what is given as true. What is not given, do not choose. In this way, you cease to think for yourself and you become as an empty shell. We partake of one loaf, we drink of one cup. This is because we are one. When you choose to think the thoughts that are not mine, you are not sharing our thought with me. When you do not share in our truth, you entertain yourself with illusion. This does not change our truth, but it does blind you to the truth. Are you ready to remove the blindfold you have given to yourself? Are you ready to become as me and see? You cannot serve two masters means that you cannot believe illusory thoughts are true and know true thoughts are true also. True thoughts are always true. And illusory thoughts are not true, but illusory thoughts may be chosen as experience over thoughts that are true. If a false experience is your choice, a false experience is what you are given. But the carnival ride of falsity must end when you are ready to turn into the light. I am waiting for you to make the decision I know you will make. I am waiting for your signal, which is the empty shell. When you have given the signal to me, I will know you are ready for the light. You will not have to ask twice. The moment the signal is given, the light shall be given also. Everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. Yet that which is not beneficial cannot hurt because it cannot change the truth. Everything is permissible, But do you still seek that which is untrue? If your answer is no, then why do you still go after it by partaking of illusory thoughts? That which you think is that which you experience. If you have tired of the experience that is untrue, stop feasting on its thoughts. Let them pass by without tasting them. In this way, you become an empty shell, free of the experience you no longer want. Finally, keep what you truly want in your mind. Let true desire be your guide.
Thank you so much, Susan. Perfectly read. So, the empty shell. Spirit meets each one of us exactly where we are. And most all of us are still in the world, believing the illusion. There will be a time for each one of us, and mark my words, even if you think this will never happen for me, it will. It will happen. And there will be a transition. So I'm going to share with you a couple of chapters out of The Way of Mastery. In lesson 1, the way that calls you home. So I think this really fits in with our theme today. So now we begin. Beloved friends, I come forth to abide with you where you believe yourself to be. I come not for myself, but for you. I come not to teach you, but love you until you choose from the depth within your own being to set aside every illusion that you've ever given credence to, and to remember the truth, which alone is true. For indeed, in that hour, there is a transcendence that of all that knows limitation. There is a transcendence of all that knows coming and going, birth and death. And there is but the mind of Christ within each one of us, a spark of divine light as a sunbeam to the sun, rest eternally in perfect communion and communication always. The first time I picked up The Way of Mastery and I read those first 2 paragraphs, it was like, wow, that really speaks to me, because I hope it speaks to you. And so, just take a look here at the empty shell that NTI 1 Corinthians describes. And so it starts out in chapter 9, there is a voice within you that claims to be you. I don't know about you, but I feel like a George. And you feel like whoever you identify yourself to be. And yeah, I have some judgments about George, and I have some judgments about everyone else. It's an automatic reflex. We don't even have to think about it. We see somebody and we have a judgment. It's just the nature of who we are. So now, the world that we perceive through this illusion of separation, we believe in totally, fully, It seems so real. And yet, it's sort of like the butterfly, you know, the caterpillar that becomes the butterfly. The caterpillar does not have any real concept of that transition to the butterfly. It may have a butterfly come down and say, hey, this is your future. Some people will accept that, most won't. And yet, there comes that transition period when they go into the chrysalis. They lay down their caterpillar life. This is not by their choice, at least their willing choice as a caterpillar. You know, it's just the way it is. It's sort of like death in a sense. It's sort of like our death. And by the way, that doesn't necessarily mean the death of the body. Our death can occur and we can still be walking around in this body. So we'll make this transition. We go into this chrysalis, this unknown state of transition, and we awaken to a whole new sense of awareness, a sense of knowing. So, but, you know, there's nothing wrong with being right here, right now, being a George or a Marisol or a Susan or whoever. There's nothing wrong with the experience that we're having. Somehow, and I have no way of understanding how, but somehow this is just the way it's supposed to be. This is just the way it is. This voice is mistaken. This voice that we believe ourselves to be is mistaken. I remember a textbook one time in college that said, I think, therefore I am. And thinking is the problem. You know, we have this constant bombardment of thoughts coming into our mind, and we grab onto the ones that we like. You know, the internet has given us a great example. You know, what you're interested in, there's an algorithm that whatever you click on, whatever you spend time on, it's going to give you more of that type of content. And that's the way, you know, there's like an unimaginable number of thoughts that we're bombarded with. And yet most of them, they just flow right on by because we're not attracted to them. But our algorithm feeds us the thoughts that we're interested in. And so, you know, I think, therefore I am. I think, therefore I see. And what I see, I think. And what I think, I am. So I know I didn't do that exactly right, but I think you got the gist of that. So it's kind of a revolving door, a circular path that each one of us has a different world. You know, I remember years ago, there was a movie called The World According to Garth. Now, I've never watched the movie, but the name stuck with me. And, you know, each one of us has our individual experience. Each one of us actually lives in our own little world. And it seems like we're sharing this world with the universe, with everyone else. But that's just an illusion. And somehow that's just fine. So we go down, listen to me. You're not who or what you think you are. So how do we make that transition? This is why I ask you to become a willing empty shell. So this process of awareness, I think it was Ramana Maharshi when a devotee came and said, give me a concise explanation. What do I need to do? And Ramana Maharshi said, attention, attention. Well, that didn't make any sense to this devotee. He said, no. He said, give me something that makes sense to me. And Ramana Maharshi replied, attention. Give me, whatever you give your attention to, you'll get more of. Leo Gura in actualized.org has a video. For those of you who have done 500 days, you may be familiar with Leo. But awareness alone is curative. So what are we paying attention to? If we want to change the way we see the world, we have to pay attention. This attention is right here, right now. And so we can watch these thoughts flow. We can watch these judgments. Pay attention to the judgments. They're not good or bad. They just are. So clear the thoughts that are in your mind by being willing to let go of all of them. Well, that seems kind of confusing. How do I do this? Because, my mind is always being bombarded. If I sit down to meditate, my mind just won't be quiet. And I feel frustration. I feel like I can't do this. This is not for me. And so we're judging ourselves. We're judging the experience. But as we focus, as we continue to pay attention to these thoughts, and we just focus on presence, just being present, just watching what's going on, we can let them go. It's not something that we're doing, actually, it's something that's just being done. Now, the one thing that I've come to realize, I've got a lot of facts. I've read a lot of books, listened to a lot of gurus, and that's really applies to all of us. We have more data than people in the past couldn't even conceive of. We're bombarded with data. And yet, I've come to realize I don't know anything. I have beliefs. Each one of us has beliefs. But these are just beliefs of the conditions within the illusion. And so I've come to realize I don't really know, but there's a sense of trust. I trust that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I trust that everything is just as it is, just the way it's supposed to be, regardless of what my experience is within this experience of separation. And so it says here, maintain only the casing, which is trust. Let everything go that you may be free of it all. And when you have emptied, holding on to nothing but your trust, you shall be filled again. And nothing that is true shall be lost. Let go of all fear that says it is not. Give everything to emptying your shell. Now, within this world, we all have judgments on right and wrong, but in chapter 10, it shares with us there's no right, there's no wrong. There is no right thing to do, and there is no mistake. I got to tell you, I can look back on the life of George that I remember, and of course, none of us remember our lives, our past, exactly the way they happened, but I look back on what I believe to be George's experience through this life, and it's like, wow, sure wish I'd have done that different. And yet, it is what it is. That's just the way it is. So, becoming as an empty shell is remembering that you do not know. If you will let go of judgment and give everything to me, I will judge it for you. I won't judge it as good or bad. I will only judge it as true or untrue. And then you may choose if you want that which is true, or if you desire the untrue for a little longer. You know, this thought of awakening that we're drawn to, it's a little bit scary. It's a little scary for many of us. It's like, well, what's it going to be like? What's it going to be like if I'm not in control? I remember years ago, you know, I worked in a hospital when I was young for several years. I saw people die. And that really had an effect on me. You know, I had dreams like Stephen King nightmare kind of dreams where I'd see dead people. And it scared the crap out of me, to be honest. And when I was in my 30s, I remember I went to the ER one time. I was having chest pain, and I went to the ER, and I started reflecting upon, well, man, am I going to die? You know, I mean, that's kind of scary. Turns out it was nothing, but it seemed to be something to me. But I remember mulling over, well, what is death? What's it like to die? And what occurred to me was, if I die, I lose control. I lose control of everything. I lose control of this body. And I don't know what's going to happen when that moment comes. And it scared me. And so as I've gotten older, I'm a lot closer to death than I was back then in my 20s. As I got older, somehow that fear has fallen away. I'm not going to say completely, because if I have that moment where I know that it's right now or very close, then I don't know how I'm going to feel about that. But right now, I don't really dwell on it. And in a sense, I really think it's might not be that bad. You know, there's a friend of mine, Byron Longhurst, who just passed away this year, that was a mystic. I actually spoke to him once or twice in the past on a one-on-one. And when I spoke to him, I really wasn't receptive to his way of thinking so much, because his ministry was, he said, you know, there's people that die that don't realize they're dead. They're stuck in this loop, and they're dead from a standpoint of their body, and yet they don't really know what's going on. So it was like, well, that sounds kind of really out there to me at the time. And as time has passed, I've been a lot more receptive to that message. You know, when this body lays down, this awareness, this consciousness, this sense of beingness, according to Byron, is still there. Now, he helped many of these entities transition onto another realm, which he didn't talk about. Don't know if he knew about that, but that was his life, his ministry. And if anybody's interested, he wrote 7 books that Spirit gave him. He said the titles of the books came so fast to me one day that I just had to sit down and write them down right then, because Spirit gave him the titles of the books that were coming up. So, you know, we are so blessed to have this experience of personhood, and that blessing will continue on, I believe, throughout eternity. What's it going to be like? Well, we'll just have to wait till we get there. It's no use thinking a whole lot about it. So, are you ready to remove the blindfold that you've given yourself? Say most of us in this room are more willing than others, and yet that's okay too. Everyone, regardless of whether they have any spiritual inclination or not, they're exactly where they're supposed to be in the moment. That desire to know, not just believe, but to actually know, to have that experience, is what draws us. So are you ready to become as me, capital Me, and C? I'm waiting for you to make the decision I know you will make. To Spirit, I mean, there's no time. It's like there's a book of George. George was born, George is going to die. There's a book of George. Spirit has already read that book, knows how it ends, and knows what's in the book beyond that. So I'm waiting for you to make the decision I know you will make. I am waiting for your signal, which is the empty shell. For most of us, this awakening experience is followed by some form of desire. You know, there's a few people like Eckhart Tolle, Byron Katie, that, you know, had such a miserable life that they really gave up, wanted to give up that personality they thought they were, and they had a instantaneous transition. And that happens. And yet, for most of us, that's not the path. I call that the crash and burn scenario. It's like, you know, I want it to be painless. I don't want to be afraid. I want it to be painless. And yet, so I'd rather have the slow and easy road, you know. So when you have given me a signal, the signal, I will know you are ready for the light. You will not have to ask twice. You've heard that. Be careful what you ask for. You will not have to ask twice. The moment the signal is given, the light shall be given also. Now, I like this next sentence. Everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. You know, I've done a lot of things in this life that I look back and I think, well, gee, I wish I hadn't have done that. And yet, and it wasn't beneficial to me, I can tell you, you know, I've created a fair amount of pain for myself in this life. Didn't enjoy it. And yet there was a reason for it. Yet that which is not beneficial cannot hurt, because it cannot change the truth of our perfection, the truth of beingness, the truth of the expanding awareness that each one of us, you know, you think about it, most of people feel like they know a whole lot more than they used to know. I see this experience as a constant expansion, a constant expansion. And so, and it's pretty exciting. Keep what you truly want in your mind, but let true desire be your guide. Now, I noticed that our time is about up. So that's why we only covered 2 chapters here. I would invite you to pick up NTI and read through Corinthians. So let's do a little exercise here. I looked up the Amazon River. Do you realize the Amazon River is about 4,000 miles long? And they don't really know exactly how long it is because of the way that it's created. It flows west to east, and it's wide. At some places, it narrows down, but it's constantly flowing toward the ocean. And so just imagine with me that you've probably heard someone say, you know, you're not in the driver's seat, you're at the back of the bus. So let's look at it from a different perspective. So you get to choose your vehicle. It can be a kayak or canoe or a party boat, whatever. And you get out into this vast expanse, and I'm sure the Amazon is miles wide, and you start paddling out there, and you're looking at what's going on around you. Some of you are enjoying the heck out of it. Some of you are scared to death because, you know, you have these little rapids. If anybody's been whitewater rafting, you know what that experience is like. And so you kind of feel like you're in control a little bit. You can go this way or that way. You can shoot the rapids. And yet you're always flowing. You're flowing down this river, this vast river of life. And yet, the only thing is, the canyon walls have come up. You can't get out of the river. And you're flowing along. And you've shot some rapids. You've had some nice, calm, pleasant areas. But ahead of you, unbeknownst to you, is this massive waterfall. You don't have a choice. You're going over that waterfall. Now, you may have delayed that process. You may have stayed back up, you know, because you did have some control. And yet, it's not in your hands. You're going over that waterfall. Caterpillar has to go into the chrysalis. And so I see this rapid as that transition, this transition to a new state of awareness, a new experience. And it may be kind of scary. You hear that roar of the water ahead, and you start looking around. Hey, where can I get out of this thing? Well, you can't. That's just the way it is. So I'm going to leave you with that. You can delay, but you can't prevent. So, well, that's my message today. That's the message that Spirit has flowed through, and I hope you got something out of it. I'm going to turn it back over to Marisol for a song here. Yes, I believe that it just gets better and better and better. And it's going to be that way for each one of us. Now, we may have some rough spots ahead of us, we don't know. And yet, truth is always true. As Sina shared in the chat. So, well, we're, let's see, we got like 4 minutes here. By the way, Awakening Together is supported by your donations. And Marisol is going to post a link in the chat if you'd care to donate. So, and let's see, does anyone want to share anything? Not, we'll go to our last song. Hallelujah. All right, it's time for fellowship. I see Patty has her hand up, but I'm going to turn it over to you, Marisol, and thanks everyone for being here.
You've been watching our online gathering. It happens weekly on Sundays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. To join us live in the sanctuary, visit our website, awakening-together.org. You'll want to click on Online Sanctuary in the main menu, and then in the drop-down menu, look for How to Enter the Sanctuary. Right there at the top of the page is a clickable link. We'd love to see you in the sanctuary and join with you in fellowship. Thank you again for watching. Also, please know that if you'd like to stay connected via the Awakening Together channel here on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the bell for more notifications. We hope to see you in the sanctuary.